evening, everyone. Good evening, sir.
Very good evening.
Shall we start, sir?
Yeah, as you say.
Yes. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, sir. I'll introduce today's speaker as many of us attended last week the same session, virtual naturopathy talk first. And this is the second talk by the Dr. Abbas Alji, who completed BNYS from the SDM and PhD from S. Vyasa University, now currently working as a Deputy Director of the School of Yoga and Naturopathic Medicine, Associate Professor at the School of Yoga and Naturopathic Medicine, S. Vyasa University, and having 11 publications in the Impactful Journal. So I welcome you on this platform once again, the same enthusiasm by seeing all of the students. We hope
Thank you.
the session will go as good. Thank you, sir. So we will start the session, sir, with the first question will be asked by the Ritu Shivani, sir.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yes.
Good evening, sir.
Very good evening.
Myself, Ritu Shivani. I'm a student of fourth year BNYS from Morarji Desai Institute of Naturopathy and Yogic Sciences, Gujarat. I wanted to ask you that as we know that naturopathy is based on treating patients and curing their disease from the root cause. But as we see from the time we are practicing or we are seeing the doctors, we have seen in many centers that palliative treatment is going on more frequently rather than treating the root cause. So, how can we as students improve our basics and the knowledge of naturopathy so that we can help patients better and serve them with the basics of naturopathy and treat their root cause rather than just giving palliative treatment?
Okay, I think you meant symptomatic treatments rather than palliative treatment.
Yeah,
Yeah,
actually.
okay. Yeah, this was something that even I used to think about when I was in college. Probably my third, fourth year, I started thinking of the same kind of things because I used to see people getting treated for their back pain, for their arthritis, high blood pressure, etc. And a lot of times, we keep talking of removing the root cause, but what we do is if somebody is hypertensive, we give some hydrotherapy or some pranayama or something like that, which is very similar to doing what allopaths do. And therefore, we will have to do a couple of things here. Number one, we should be very, very clear on our principles, the basic fundamental philosophy of health and disease. Now, if we go back to our first year philosophy of naturopathy, we have heard that all diseases are because of one reason, there is unity of causation of disease and all of that. But unfortunately, that doesn't come in practice because a lot of times we are unable to relate the accumulation of morbid matter and lowered vitality, all that to the day-to-day clinical practice. Now, what we need to understand is unity of disease does not start with lowered vitality or accumulation of morbid matter or abnormal composition of blood and lymph. It rather starts with something called as violation of nature's laws. And violations of nature's laws is essentially the cause of all the diseases. Okay. Now, if we are switching back in the language that we understand today, what are laws of nature for us? Right eating, right sleeping, are we resting well? Are we in tune with nature? And that is what is creating a problem. Now, if I have to summarize that in one single word for you, it is lifestyle. Okay. And therefore, unless you address the lifestyle of an individual, you are not treating the root cause. Okay. You may give hydrotherapy, you may give pranayama, you may give anything else, It doesn't make any difference unless they are with you in your centers. They will be fine because they are in a very controlled environment. They are eating something that you provide them. They are doing exercises under your supervision. But as a doctor, your job will be to counsel people to modify their lifestyle first. And unless that happens, I think we would fail in the whole initiative of treating the root cause. Today's problems that we are dealing with are essentially lifestyle problems, and therefore let us start. Uh, yes, you need to do the therapies. There is no doubt in that. Okay, symptomatic treatments are very essential because if I go on doing psychological counseling for somebody who is having an episode of migraine, probably they will not listen to me. So I will have to definitely manage their symptoms. There is no other way. But at the same time, I will also have to educate my patient about why is there a migraine, what is the contributing factors, whether it is lack of sleep or dietary problems, or how do they go back and continue doing what they have learned when they were with you. Unless you motivate them, then there is going to be a failure. Okay, and that is where I think one of the basic fundamental principles that govern naturopathy in the Western medicine. Doctor as a teacher comes in a very very important manner. In fact, the word doctor has come from a Latin word doctos, or and it is also something that is related to doctrine, okay, which is teaching. And therefore, unless you teach the right lifestyle, you have been doing symptomatic treatments only. And therefore, it is very very important for all of us as doctors of lifestyle medicine. If I have to put yoga and naturopathy together in a single term, it is rather a healthy lifestyle, and we keep talking about it. But unless we project that and ask people to change their lifestyles, we have not served our purpose. And therefore, counseling has to become an important part of what we do in our centers. So symptomatic treatments are a must. You must continue to do so, but at the same time, you also need to modify your lifestyle. That is probably the answer to your question.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Good evening, sir.
Very good evening.
My name is Kriti Mishra. I'm from second year BNYS, and I'm from Subharti College of Naturopathy and Yogic Sciences, Meerut. Sir, my question was, throughout the journey of learning naturopathy and yoga, what are the specific points that should be focused on while learning so many subjects, as we need to work smart in this wide syllabus? And sir, also after graduation, what is best for us to do?
Okay, two questions, and I'll take them at a time. The first one, yes, you need to be smart, but you cannot skip hard work. Okay, and that is why you must continue to strive hard for excellence. Okay, um, I think I've answered that question about what you should be doing in our last interaction, but I'll just quickly repeat that. You need to develop knowledge, you need to develop skills in terms of your clinical practice, in terms of your communication. You need to learn to diagnose, you need to uh, have a right approach for um, talking to your patients, because unless you're convincing, they will not do what you're telling. It is also very very important for all of us that we preach what we practice, and therefore yoga has to become part of my life before I go on telling somebody else to do yoga. The healthy diet that we keep talking and telling people to do, we have to apply that in our lives. Unless you have the right, fit body, I don't think we have any rights to tell anybody to lose their weight. And therefore, it is very, very imperative that we apply what we learn in our lives. Because even if you don't treat anybody else, at least you will remain healthy for your life. And that is what we learn in naturopathy and yoga. And therefore, one of the most important things is going to be preaching what you practice. Second will be the knowledge, and the knowledge again should not be limited to your textbooks. You must know what is there in textbooks, but you need to learn beyond your textbooks. Interacting with a good number of people is going to help you. Good amount of discussions with your colleagues and friends is going to help you. There is one feeling in most naturopathy colleges ki, my college is very bad, the facilities provided are bad, and what the hell am I doing? But then when you interact with people from other colleges, you realize, oh my god, I'm in such a nice position, a lot of times. And therefore it is very important that we interact with each other, develop ourselves as a community, because uh, that is what is going to help us in long run. Okay. um, at the level of students, you need to be inquisitive. You need to question what has been told to you. A lot of times you are asked to believe whatever is being spoken, but you should not. I'm not saying that you should not be believing whatever is being told to you, but rather have a questioning mindset. Okay. Ask questions, difficult questions to your teachers. They should be scared of you, because for teaching students, we need to learn as teachers. And if you are that kind of a student, then you have achieved what you should be doing in your student life. Be regular, be punctual, learn the habits that you expect a doctor to have when you go to a clinic for consultation. Be nicely groomed, look decent, have good body language. So all these small little things a lot of times matter a lot. Will you go to a doctor with will you be comfortable with somebody who has a funky hairstyle and some weird dress? May not be. Then I should not also be doing that when I am going to my you know teaching hospital or the college. The curriculum of 5.5 years is essentially the training for you to step in further. Okay. And that is what as probably a senior and also as a teacher in the field, I would expect from any student. So I think I have
Sir,
answered your first
also,
question.
uh,
Yeah.
yes, sir, first question. And sir, also nowadays after graduation from BNYS, what should be the, from where we should, what we
uh,
should do?
what you should do after graduation
Like there
yeah,
are MD we can,
yeah, that should absolutely be your choice. You
in
should
what we are
decide.
interested.
Yes, exactly. I mean, I would always recommend you to do a post graduation, but what kind of post graduation would you like to do should be dependent on what you want to do in long term. Okay. Don't just choose um, a post graduation because your friends are joining it, or you have heard that this college is better or that college is better. Do a thorough background check. Have a long term plan. How do you see yourself 15, 20 years down the line? When you are 40, how do you visualize yourself? And based on that, you choose what you do today. That is the right way of approaching anything. Of course, post graduation is wonderful, and you gain a lot of knowledge, skills when you do a post graduation. But frankly, something that I wanted to do when I was a student, I unfortunately could not do, was just do a kind of an internship. Go 1 year, different places, ask doctors whether you can just go and be with them 15 days and see what is happening in different naturopathy centers. How is it different? Okay, and you pick up, you learn, and probably even that will be a wonderful experience than just doing a structured curriculum. Okay, so it should absolutely be dependent on what you want to do in your life. Okay, and that is going to be my advice to you. Choose your long term goal, and based on that decide what you want to do in short term. That is how you go about it.
Thank you, sir.
Evening, sir.
Hi Gautam.
Hi, sir. Good evening, sir. Sir, I want to know one thing. Like, yoga is not only asana; it is beyond asana. Like, it is proper lifestyle. The achara, vichara, ahara, vihara. So, what we can do in clinically for a patient to follow proper vichara, like positive attitude, thinking kind of thing.
I think counseling is going to be the key, irrespective of what pathy do you practice. And definitely, when it comes to yoga, when it comes to naturopathy, when it comes to lifestyle modifications, counseling is definitely the most important part. And therefore, spend time learning about your patient, listen to them, uh, and check what they do, how is it right or wrong, and then suggest them some modifications in what they do. Okay. uh, there is this example of Duryodhana from Mahabharata that keeps popping up every time. Duryodhana was himself a knowledgeable person, or Ravana for that matter, in Ramayana. Both of these people were great scholars, but they knew what they were doing wrong. Okay, all of us, all our patients are also in similar situations. They know what is right kind of food. Every diabetic knows that they should not be consuming a coffee, but they want to compromise. And therefore, be convincing, talk to them. Okay, counseling is going to be the most important aspect of what you are going to do with your patients. Become a teacher for your patients. They should become your students, and that is what I see. Very senior naturopaths whom I was fortunate to work with, all of them are remembered by their patients for ages, because they taught them right lifestyle, right approach, and not just gave them treatments. And that is how we need to proceed whenever we are approaching a patient.
Yes, sir. Like motivation, we will be giving, but it will be for 1 week like that. For a long run, what we can do?
Follow up is going to be important. Typically when you go to a conventional doctor, they give you medicines for a week, and then they ask you to come back and review, right? So you
Yeah.
will have to, now it is easy now, there is technology, you can do video conferencing, you can check on WhatsApp, you can do a lot of things. So just a simple thing, you make a list of, or a group of your patients, and send a WhatsApp tip every day, you know just to reinforce the idea that they should stick on to and follow the right kind of lifestyle. Now this could simply be, have you drunk enough water today? Asking that question. Okay, or did you do today's yoga practice? Did you pray today? Just asking that small little question to encourage your patients to do well. Okay, so use
Yes.
technology in terms of reaching to your patients. And it is very simple these days. You need not travel, they need not travel to you. It is very simple by virtual meetings as well.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Gautam.
Hello, sir.
Hello, Aisha.
My name is Aisha. I'm currently studying in 4th year, and I'm from Government Nature Cure and Yoga Medical College, Mysore. Sir, my question is, what role as doctors can we play in this COVID situation? Recently, in Pune, a doctor, an oncologist, he has demonstrated Jalaniti followed by Kapalabhati, so that the virus, if it is stuck in the nasal passage, it can be expelled out. So, will you have a say on that, sir?
Lot of ways, lots of things that you can do. Definitely Jalaneti, steam inhalation, those things are can be done. I'm also a scientist, and unless there is evidence, I would not talk otherwise. And therefore, I would not say with 100% belief that it would work, but it can work. Okay, and that is the whole situation today. See, the problem is there are two aspects to it. Number one, COVID or corona virus, the new coronavirus is an absolutely new virus in human situation. Okay, which was detected somewhere in uh, you know last year, November or October, something like that. Okay, so we don't really know the nature of the virus itself. How does it work? A lot of things are unknown about it. Okay, and that is the bigger problem. Okay, if we know something, we are at ease with it. Right now, we don't really know how does it spread and all of that. Okay, and therefore, it is very, very important for us to keep ourselves updated. Number one. Number two, I'll talk about what we can do as yoga naturopathy physicians in a minute. Just before that, I just wanted to talk to you about a couple of factors. One is that none of the treatment modalities which are approved for clinical trials by WHO and other large institutions, whether it was ICMR, actually had any demonstrable evidence. Okay, whether it was hydroxychloroquine or the ART drugs that were tried and all of that, the clinical trials that have happened with modern medical system, nobody questioned it. Okay, but you say that Jalaniti would work or steam inhalation would work, people would say, where is the evidence?
Exactly, sir.
Yeah, so that is one problem that we would have to face and tackle. We will have to start talking in a language that is common in the scientific community. Okay, why was it that you chose XYZ drugs over all other drugs that were available? That is because we understand that there is some kind of pharmacokinetics or pharmacodynamics involved with those medicines specifically, and the way you understand coronavirus to infect human being, these are the places, these are the pathways on which these medicines would probably work. So there is a logic behind applying those treatment modalities. Now, what happens when we start talking of Jalaneti or steam inhalation is, they would ask what pathway does it work on? Okay, and unfortunately we would be stuck. And therefore, we will have to learn the language of science. Okay, so that is not just in corona, but in any situation, you will have to start talking that particular language. Okay, the moment you start talking that language, I think a lot of things would change. Okay, I'll give you an example for that probably. I'm going away from the answer to your question, talking more general things. I'll come back and specifically talk about COVID. Now, antihypertensive drugs, if you are a fourth year, you have learned that there is an ABCD. ACE inhibitors, there are beta blockers, there is calcium channel inhibitors and diuretics. Yeah. Now, how many of us in our therapy centers, whether it was clinics or hospitals or wellness centers, any hypertensive patient coming to us, How many of us put them on barley water because it is diuretic? A lot of times we don't. Okay. A lot of times barley water is given because patient starts feeling hungry at a particular time rather than any other reason. Okay. So if you can replace the diuretic in the conventional medicine with a diuretic which is from natural origin, nobody is going to object to you. Okay. Beta blockers essentially work at blocking the beta adrenergic receptors. Yeah. But you do yoga and you reduce the amount of adrenaline getting secreted. You are working at a higher level than the beta blockers itself. But do you talk in that language is the big question. Okay. Unfortunately, in most of our colleges, our teachers are also not oriented in talking in this particular kind of a language. Okay. So at least we should start doing that. I was talking to somebody from Ayurveda background who asked me, why do you require pharmacology the way modern medicine understands it? And I said, it is just to understand the mechanisms by which yoga and naturopathy works. Otherwise, pharmacology is such a dreaded subject to all of us. It's a dry subject. You have so many complicated names to remember. But rather, can we understand the pathophysiology or the mechanism of action of our treatment modalities in the language of science? That is the requirement for all of us to move on. Okay. Now, switching back to your question about what we can do in COVID-19, a lot of things. Number one, I'm not talking very specifically about a specific treatment like Jalaneti or steam inhalation or Kapalabhati. All of them are going to be useful. But overall, what is known is, number one, vitamin D. If there is adequate amount of vitamin D in your body, the cytokine storm that creates a lot of acute respiratory distress, the severe symptoms of COVID, adequate vitamin D will prevent severe attack of COVID. So sunbathing, that is naturopathy, has to become a part of it. Second, vitamin C is known to be an anti-inflammatory. In your diet, include things that are rich in vitamin C. Number three, you have more than anything, have good food, so that your immune system is strong enough. Basically, structurally, COVID-19 coronavirus is very similar to any other flu virus. Okay. And what it does to majority of people, about 87 to 90% of the people who get infected, is simple flu. So if your immune system is strong, you will not get anything other than that. Okay. It's only in people who have comorbid conditions that there is a problem. Now, again, in comorbidities, you are the best people to handle it, whether it is diabetes, hypertension, or anything else. Right? Give a lot of good diet, treatments at home, good yoga, which will boost immunity. Right? And more than all of this, the reason why people are so much in problem with COVID is because of the unknowns. They are all scared. If I go out, whether this next person who's coming from a shop is an infected person, I'm scared. Yeah. This fear is, again, we understand that the fear is going to lower down your immune responses once again. So counseling, deep relaxation, all of that, who is going to do that? Yoga and naturopathy physicians have to do it. Okay. And our counterparts in Tamil Nadu are showing us the way. They are going in COVID wards and teaching them yoga. And what is now, there are clinical trials going on across where there is Ayurveda medicines getting discovered on one side. There are, naturopathy and yoga treatments given on another side, yoga therapies applied on another side. So we will get to know how beneficial it would be in due course of time. But looking at it from a pathophysiology angle and looking at it from the way your body would respond, we will have to definitely say that there is a very, very strong possibility that we can do greater good to society in the current situation. And therefore, you cannot skip a good lifestyle, whether it is in this situation or otherwise.
So one more from this side, sir.
Yeah, sure.
Sir, you had come to take Viva a few months ago to our college. You had asked a question to me. I would like to repeat the same question. Since I belong from a Muslim community, despite the fact that yoga is spreading wide, but still we can't deny the fact that few of them still don't believe in yoga. They believe it as a religious practice. And your question was how I will be able to convince them. I had answered mine, but I would like to listen your side, sir.
No, you will have to tell them that it is a health practice rather than anything else. You will have to make them understand the benefits of doing it. You will have to tell that there is nothing to religion, rather it is more of a lifestyle. And in fact, there are so many similarities in the way yoga is practiced. In even your prayer. It is very similar to what you do in Surya Namaskara.
Exactly, sir.
Yeah.
All are relaxative postures.
Absolutely. So there is absolutely nothing religious about yoga. It comes from India, and the Indian tradition had been of Hinduism, and therefore there is a tag. Okay, but that tag is wrongly put. Okay, so you try your best to convince people. If they don't, that's none of your business. Ultimately, they would definitely have their own choice of choosing whether they want to take a treatment or not. You can't force anybody to do yoga, just like that.
Thank you, sir.
I was about to ask you if I have taken your Viva.
You had, sir.
Okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Good evening, sir.
Very good evening.
Sir, I'm Mahima from Alvas College of Naturopathy and Yogic Sciences.
Hello, Mahima.
My question is, as per yogic text, one has to do a pranayama for 4 times a day and the 21 rounds with each time. But actually in clinical settings, we just prescribe just 5 rounds or 9 rounds of pranayama. So just doing that 5 rounds or 9 rounds of pranayama will have any benefits to the patient?
It is definitely better than not doing anything. Okay. But yeah, what we need to understand is, again, something that yoga research has to go ahead with is the what is called as the dose effect relationship. Okay, if I do X round of pranayama, what will be the kind of impact of it? If I do more number of it, how does it impact? I think that is one big area for all of us to explore. Similarly, it is a question mark about the standardization of the treatments that we do. What is the duration of a hip bath? What is the duration of an immersion bath, or for that matter, any hydrotherapy? We have not standardized it, and that is going to be a major area for us to explore in science tomorrow, to make our philosophy more evidence based. Okay, even today we know yoga works. It is not that we more than any doubt, we have huge number of research evidence for that. But at the same time, we also need to work a lot more on how to do it clinically. Okay, how do I customize based on the condition of an individual? Unfortunately, we have not reached that state, and that is where we need to go in future for sure.
Thank you, sir.
But answering your question very simply, doing 5 rounds, 9 rounds, definitely 21 rounds 4 times a day is going to be much better. But 5 rounds, 9 rounds are better than 0 rounds a day.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Harini.
I'm Harni. I'm studying second year in Sivaraj Naturapathy College.
Hello, Harini.
The in Alzheimer's disease, what would be the naturopathic treatment which would help the patients in symptomatic relief, as we couldn't be able to cure the disease? Such as,
Alzheimer's.
yes, sir.
Okay. One of the things that can prevent Alzheimer's, a couple of them that are known along with scientific evidence to it, is intermittent fasting, which is neuroprotective. It is not going to reduce the neurodegeneration that comes with age. The second one is definitely yoga, which is known to enhance neuroplasticity. Okay. With very specific questions on managing Alzheimer's disease, it would depend on the stage in which the patient is. With mild cognitive impairment, you can definitely do a lot of things to enhance or reduce the deterioration. Yoga is going to be very useful. Making them getting active in their day-to-day routine is definitely going to be very useful in.
Sir, this is not a disease condition. It is an asymptomatic condition, sir.
Sorry, it is asymptomatic.
Symptomatic.
It is symptomatic.
Yes, sir.
What are the kind of symptoms? It will depend on that. If it is for an individual patient, then we'll have to look at what are the kind of specific symptoms that are there, and based on that, we will have to customize the kind of therapies that we would possibly do. But then, in general, Alzheimer's, can we help? Yes, we can. Can we cure? Probably not at this state. Can we prevent? Yes, we can, using a lot of treatments that are there in yoga and naturopathy. Do I answer your question, Harini?
Good evening, sir.
Very good evening.
So this is me, Miri Varagutti from SHM CNYS, Bhopal. And the question I'd like you to answer is, very often yoga and bodybuilding, they are said to be opposing each other. Like my subject teachers, most of them advised me to go for yoga instead of bodybuilding. But then the muscle building is not as good in yoga like while we use body weight. So I was wondering if there are certain practices which could be opted, solely just yoga practices which could help in building bodybuilding.
It would essentially depend on what is the purpose of doing an exercise for you. Okay. And therefore, the kind of exercise that you would choose would be based on what is the requirement. Okay, if bodybuilding is the purpose, choose practices that are meant for bodybuilding. Then let us not stick on to yoga. You know, but there are practices in yoga which could be useful, like Surya Namaskara would be there. You have Nauli, you have Agnisara, you have for arm strengthening, you can do probably Mayurasana or Bakasana, handstands. So based on which muscle group do you want to focus on, the kind of practices would differ.
Oh, so solely we can't just get the bulk we want using yoga.
Probably not.
Okay, sir. So one more question. So calisthenics, is it? Are there yoga practices which are like calisthenics?
Meaning, I don't understand. Can I just come back? My phone battery is low. I mean, my Wi-Fi connection is getting low. Just I'll grab my charger and come back. Just give me a
Okay,
second.
sir.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
You
I'm
are.
sorry for the gap. Yeah, please go on. You can ask me the question now.
So, are there practices like calisthenics in yoga?
What do you mean by calisthenics? That's a new word for me. I'm sorry.
So it's like rhythmic exercises involving running, and you've got to use sole body weight to work out.
Okay. Yeah, yoga can be used as a workout for sure, and there is always a rhythm to what you do. In fact, it is comparable to what is called as Tai Chi from the Chinese tradition. There is a practice that is done with the flow. The yoga is also compared to Pilates, which is again something that goes with flows and all of that. So yes, it is comparable for sure. And yoga practices are going to be much more beneficial when it is something to do with the mind. And the flow is definitely going to be much more useful whenever you use it. So it is the way you want to use a particular kind of exercise. Okay. And I'm using the physical part of yoga as exercise here. I'm not uh, taking away the philosophical background of yoga about self-realization and all of that. But when you're applying yoga, it would depend on what is the need for which you're doing it.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Good evening, sir. My name is Guni Gupta.
Hello, Guni.
Hi, sir. Sir, I study at the Sant Hirdara Medical College, Bhopal. So my question to you is, what opportunities are there for BNYs after the graduation in government sector, and how one is eligible for them? And also do let us know about the international platform for BNYs. So that is my first question. My second question to you is, how much importance would you suggest for pursuing PG after BNYs?
I think I've answered the second question earlier during somebody else's question. Doing a post graduation is definitely a good uh, thing. Okay. But what kind of post graduation and why do you want to do it has to be very clear to you. Okay. And therefore, setting your long term goal is going to be important. And based on that, doing something in short term is going to be important. Okay. Long term goal in the sense, how do you see yourself 15, 20 years down the line? In probably 2040.
Yes,
How
sir.
do you envision yourself to be? Okay. And for
Yes, sir.
that, whatever you want to do today, you will have to basically do that. Okay. So your post graduation must help you in doing that.
Okay.
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 Coming to your first question, which was what are the opportunities in the government sector? There are, it would depend on whether you want to get in central government, state government, uh, because everybody has their own different policies. In fact, the state of Tamil Nadu last year absorbed about 75 BNYS graduate in one shot. Okay, and there was an exam and the whole process of getting absorbed. You know, that happens in any government sector. There will be the category wise bifurcation. So all of that is definitely there. So different kind of governments. Manipur government has been doing something really well in terms of giving government jobs. So of course you have NIN, CCRY and the government agencies from the central government. There are central government organizations which are independent organizations like All India Institute. You have got the National Institute of Mental Health and Neurosciences in Bangalore. So all these places also BNYS doctors are working. In fact, AIIMS Bhopal, there was a friend who was working, Dr. Muvendan was there. So each one will have their own requirements, and each one is going to have different eligibility. You will have to keep a check on newspaper advertisements that keep appearing for the government postings and all of that.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
But on the other side of it, also it is very, very important for all of us to keep government apprised of our existence. A lot of times they don't even know that there is a BNYS program which is available, and then this is what you learn and all of that. And therefore doing a lot of public activity is going to be very important. See, what does a government look at? How, if I employ one individual, how is it going to imply or implicate on a larger public forum, right? And therefore, as long as we are trying to keep ourselves relevant in terms of the public health, we will definitely, if not today, tomorrow, the governments are going to be more sensitive towards BNYS doctors, and there will be appointments. Of course, Ayush centers are coming up everywhere, and therefore it will happen eventually. Regarding the international exposure or opportunities after BNYS, it would depend on what you want to do. But majority of the opportunities are in wellness sector at present. Okay. There are also a couple of my students who have gone to UK and pursuing their masters in psychology and diabetes and all sorts of things. So probably inviting them, Bhavit can coordinate that for you because they are his seniors, and then they can talk to you. Probably they can give you better insights. And I think you are also talking to a lot of my seniors and friends and juniors in terms of people who have gone out and have come back. So they have an international exposure on what BNYS can do. It would again depend on which country do you choose, what are the policies of those countries about issuing visas, allowing practice, all of that. So there are a lot of factors that we will have to consider. Okay, and therefore each will have its own requirements, and we will have to work around.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Hello, good evening, sir.
Very good evening.
I'm unable to switch on my video. Sorry for that, sir.
No problem. No problem. Yeah.
Sir, myself, Sridharan. Yes, right.
Yeah.
Do you remember you took Viva for me? Then you said, you take for so many people. Like I understand.
I'm sorry if I have troubled you in Vivas.
No, seriously, no. Like Viva was really so good. You said, in spite of Corona, I'm giving hands to you. The Viva experience was good. Then after that, in the end of the Viva, the things which you said, it was really good. It was inspiring, sir.
Okay.
The thing which I wish to ask now is, like, we are gaining more knowledge, or we are gaining things from research papers, right, sir? Like, then again, we are hearing so many things that these research papers are being biased, or these research papers or these particular groups are being funded by some people, so they are biasing the results on because of that funding groups or for that funding groups. So how do we select research paper which is correct or which is not funded? How to know that? Or I just want to know later that.
Yeah, one of the things that while choosing a research publication to read is going to be using your common sense. Does it make sense to you in terms of what information has been put up? One fundamental way in which research is done and papers are published is peer review. And it is the duty of the peer reviewers. Basically, peer reviewers are the community which assesses. Say, I submit a paper to a journal, it will be evaluated by two people who are doing something similar in similar areas, who are kind of researchers in the area. So definitely it is the responsibility of the peer reviewers to check for any kind of biases or anything like that. But sometimes it may get missed, and there is always an industry which is backing it, and there can be issues with that. And therefore, please read papers from good research publication houses. There are papers from some names of the publication houses would be Elsevier, Springer, Nature, New England Journal of Medicine. You have Journal of American Medical Association, JAMA. There are some really good quality publications, which Oxford Press is there, Harvard Press is there. So these people are known that they undergo a very, very rigorous scrutiny before they publish anything. Okay. Number one would be that. Number two, please do not believe everything that is published in a study. Apply your mind in understanding the language, understanding what has been done. The rule of research is transparency. If the researcher is hiding something, then there might be something fishy. And therefore, if there is no clarity in what has been written, then probably you will have to think of things otherwise. Okay. And you will learn eventually by reading more and more papers. You will essentially learn what is a good paper and what is a bad paper. Okay. For now, what you need to start doing is read. Okay.
Yes, yes.
Have your basics very clear. Your anatomy, physiology knowledge should be very, very clear. The biochemical processes that happen in the body should be very clear, so that if there is something twisted, if there is a fact that is not told correctly in a paper, you will be able to identify that on your own.
Yes, so then another one thing, sir, we read about that the polished rice which we are eating now, which like most of the people are having now, its glycemic index is so much, or the important thing, the dietary fiber, which is very essential, we are removing it during the polishing process. Then if we think of it and if we go for millets or things like that, sir, then again, while coming to millets, it has, if we see or if we study papers related to it, so many papers say it is so good. We can replace rice with that, those things, sir. Then again, this about the same millet, some paper says like if you are consuming this in a long run, again it will hit your thyroid, things like that. So
no, basically, see, you will have to understand that. You will have to understand everything in totality. You cannot learn things in isolation. Basically, when you studied anatomy, physiology, biochemistry, there were 3 different subjects in your first year. But what were you learning about? You were learning about human being, the way your body is, the way it functions. So you will have to integrate it together. Okay. What researchers essentially do is they segregate some part and tell you. You will also have a lot of papers which will tell you that alcohol is good for health, good for cholesterol, right?
yes,
What
yes,
quantity? What is the amount that is being prescribed? There are a
yes.
lot of papers which will tell coffee is good. but what is the way coffee was made? And therefore, unless we understand things in totality, it is going to be a mess. And therefore, please read things in more details rather than just looking at the abstract. When you are
Yes,
probably first, second, third years, you start with the abstract and titles of the papers. But as you grow, maybe fourth year internship or post graduation, you will have to start reading things in more details.
yes, sir.
Okay, have notes. If there is a doubt, if there is a question mark, read about it. There is always a cross referencing available. And for that matter, diet is the most controversial uh, topic researched on earth.
Yes, sir.
Okay, you will have claims and counterclaims about everything at any given point of time.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and therefore use your rational thinking. What is the quality of evidence? A lot of times there are cohort studies, meaning just take a survey and publish a result. Are they done in proper method? Okay,
Yes.
what is the design applied? Whether it is a systematic review or meta-analysis where the data is analyzed in a very robust manner. So you will have to learn that over a period of time. It is not going to happen on day one, for sure. Okay,
Yes, sir.
but that should not discourage you from studying research studies at this point.
Okay, sir.
Okay, don't feel bad because somebody is telling you yoga has side effects, or yoga can lead to spondylosis or slip disc. Read what exactly was done. Okay,
Yes, sir. Yes.
there are studies which tell you that Kapalabhati has led to spontaneous pneumothorax. The rib got broken and there was spontaneous pneumothorax. But then you will have to also understand that the person who was doing it had a secondary metastatic tumor of the bone. So when he or she did Kapalabhati, the bone was fragile to be broken. So
Yes.
unless you read the details, you will not know that.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay.
So then,
Yeah.
and the next question was like, Bhavit sir actually arranged a meeting for us related to that quantum physics, those things, sir. Then after that, no, actually it was related to quantum biology. Then I felt so interested about the topic. Then I was reading about the quantum physics, those things and all. Then do you know anything related with the quantum biology, or in future do we have any scope or anything related to that?
I would suggest you to read two authors probably. Deepak
Okay.
Chopra.
Okay, sir.
Deepak Chopra is a very, very fascinating author who has written some books, wonderful books. There is a beautiful book that talks about ageless body and timeless mind.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Okay. And there is another book by Fritjof Capra.
Sir, can you repeat the name, sir?
Yeah, Fritjof Capra. I think probably I'll put that in the chat box for you.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Yes, sir.
Fritjof Capra has written a book called The Turning Point.
Okay,
Okay,
sir.
and he talks of the evolution of science, medicine, economics, and physics. How it was holistic initially, and then we started reducing it to small little fragments. And then now we understand that it is not the reductionist approach is not the right approach. You will have to start looking at the total systems. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So
Yes, sir.
Fritjof Capra has written The Turning Point, which is a beautiful book that all of you should read.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
No problem.
Hello.
Yes, Parvati.
Coming from Mysore, Nature Cure and Yoga Medical College from Mysore. My question is, how the quantum physics is related with the Ritis?
Basically, the understanding of quantum mechanics or quantum physics is that everything is a form of energy. Okay, every activity that we do is the form of energy. And that's how yoga would look at human being. We are basically the same universal energy that makes everything. Okay. And that universal energy has definitely these divisions of gunas. And therefore, it is more to do with the spiritual understanding. How do you explain spirituality in modern physical terms? Okay, a lot of times that is a very, very difficult task. And therefore, you use the principles of quantum physics and all of that to explain the way we talk of energy and the way energy would influence uh, different things in human being. Okay, so you will have to start reading about it a lot more. uh, it is very difficult to answer in a very, very short span of time. I think again, reading about Deepak Chopra's work and Fritjof Capra's work will help you to have a better idea about it.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, Parveen. Thank you.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Sir, because of some technical issue, I'm not able to switch on my video.
No problem.
Sir, I'm Janvi Mishra, and good evening, sir, and good evening, everyone present over here. I am Janvi Mishra from Banaras Hindu University, and I'm doing fourth year now. So my question is, in today's time, everyone is so fast forward, like they want Zomato, Swiggy for a frequent second time. They want everything.
Yeah.
And about our pathy, that is a time taking pathy, and it's take time like 2 months, 3 months to treat a patient. So as we naturopath doctor, how we can attract our patient, our people towards our pathy?
Okay, Janvi, I'll let me ask you another question as an answer to your question.
Okay,
If
sir.
somebody is diagnosed with diabetes or hypertension,
Yes, sir.
how long does it take for them to get rid of the problem with conventional medicine?
Sir, approx, I think it takes time if they will do follow
Lifelong.
all. Yes,
Lifelong.
sir. Sir,
Yeah.
actually, if they will follow,
People,
if they only
people,
follow the rules like their lifestyle and everything, diet, then only it will take. Otherwise, they
exactly,
have to support.
exactly. So that is what we need to understand. You can reverse diabetes. Okay,
Yes.
and I'm talking it with the amount of evidence that is already there. In 2017, there was a paper published in Lancet which spoke about diabetes reversal. Okay, I think the authors were Taylor and Group, and there was a direct trial in UK which demonstrated that the dietary changes and lifestyle modifications are good enough to reverse diabetes. But until today, what we are told in conventional medicine is if you are a diabetic, for a life you are a diabetic. You cannot reverse it, right? So if I have to do lifestyle medicine or lifestyle modifications for my good, for getting rid of the lifelong medicines that I have to take, I don't think patients are going to look behind. Okay. And therefore, what you need to understand is you will have to tell them that you are going to treat them for their health problem kind of permanently. Okay. Because if you have, say, back pain or spinal, disc prolapse or something like that, what would happen is unless you do lifestyle modifications and exercising to strengthen the spine and the paraspinal muscles, it is not going to get reversed despite of how many ever surgeries or medicines you take. You do a bypass surgery, the if you don't adapt a right lifestyle after a bypass, the chances of you redeveloping coronary blockages are extremely high. And
Yes.
therefore, you do a surgery and still have to do lifestyle modification, you take medicines and still you have to do lifestyle modification, then why not do only lifestyle modification, which is there for some longer time, but you are trying to reduce the complications on long run. I think that is the right way of looking at things. And therefore, uh, when compared to a lifelong diabetic medicine, the duration of 3 months is not that long, right?
Yes, sir.
So you will have to give them that perspective.
Okay, sir.
Once
Thank you
you
so much,
once
sir.
you start doing that, I don't think there should be a problem.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Good evening, sir.
Very good evening.
My name is Afrin Shahi, and I'm studying in second year in Morarji Desai Institute of Naturopathic Science and Yogic Sciences, Baroda. I have a question. Is
Yes, please.
naturopathic treatment effective for patients suffering from cancer? To what extent can it help? Can we use it along as a supportive treatment? Or is there any possibility that certain cancer, depending upon type and stage, can be cured completely by naturopathy treatment?
Okay. The for sure, we can be a very good adjunct. Okay. That is proven beyond doubt. There are a lot of studies on yoga. There are components of naturopathy that are being used, whether it is healthy nutrition or for pain management using acupuncture, or a lot of those things are definitely useful. So as an adjunct, definitely yoga and naturopathy will be extremely useful. But on the flip side of it, whether it will cure cancer, I don't know, unless there is data, unless we find how does it work really. We will have to. I mean, there is a long way ahead to say that yoga naturopathy would be able to cure cancer. Okay, as an adjunct, for sure you can do it without any doubt.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Yes, sir. So we have reached today's
Yeah, I think
session.
a couple of questions that were
Yes,
asked
sir.
in the chat box, I'll just
Yes, sir.
answer them very quickly and then
Yes, sir.
I think we will stop. One was cheat days. Patients create cheat days in between, so how to work on that patient? Yeah, see, it is but natural for somebody to like eating ice cream or sweet. So you can't really force somebody not to do that. But how do you even eat? The orientation is going to be very, very important. It is not that you should not be eating sweets at all, but how much quantity are you eating? How are you eating it? Are you able to feel the taste? So training them in mindful eating is going to be very, very useful. By mindful eating, what I mean is making them realize the whole uh, perspective of eating. Okay, not eating with your tongue, but rather eating with your whole five senses together. Okay, and that will satisfy you. Okay, and therefore I think you should allow people to cheat. In fact, you should not call them cheat days. Rather, that should be a reward for doing something very nice. Number two, it's very simple. If I eat a sweet and I compensate by doing a little more exercise or yoga on that particular day, add another kilometer of walk, I think that should not harm. So there is no problem with that. Okay. Um, Aditi is asking me what papers will I recommend to start reading. You should go with good indexed indexing agencies, I would recommend you to read from PubMed and not from Google Scholar when you start. Okay, Google Scholar has a lot of publications which are not really good to start with. There are a lot of other problems as well, although it is much more comprehensive. You get a lot of information from Google Scholar. I don't know, for those of you who don't know what I'm talking, these are two search engines for research articles. So I would suggest you to read something that is indexed in PubMed rather than in Google Scholar to start with. Of course, as you keep reading, you will learn more. So that will happen eventually anyway. I think I've answered that question. Yeah, Azuma is asking me whether we are eligible in Canada, US. I don't really know. Canada and US both has a ND program and which is Doctor of Naturopathy, and that is a 4-year program in itself, and you may get some exemptions by credit equivalence, but the training that happens of naturopathy over there, you may have to undergo that as well. The students of mine who have studied abroad, they are essentially in UK. A lot of them are in UK studying MScs in University of Manchester, Southampton, Lancaster University. So there are good amount of universities in the West, especially in UK, which allow BNYS degree as an undergraduate program for masters. Somebody had raised a hand. Welcome, Azuma.
Maybe by mistake when they have raised their hand.
Yeah.
So we'll conclude the session, sir. And it was so interactive, like the last week it was there. And people are more interactive now, I feel like. It's like a friendly talk, not more than a formal talk right now. So we hope we will continue the same process in next coming week with different questions. And this virtual talk will go so on every time.
Yeah, we will definitely take it forward. There are a lot of resources that are available to all of you now in the current virtual world. Do not restrict your knowledge coming from what source does it come. Only thing is that you need to be rational in choosing what is right and what is wrong. Apply your mind. That is very, very important. Use technology to learn from whatever sources you can. There is plenty that you can learn. Recently, my colleague from uh, Chennai College, who used to work with me, has started his YouTube channel. I have a YouTube channel. There are a lot of colleges who are coming up with YouTube channels, and they are putting up a lot of content which is useful to all of you. So please have a look at all these things and learn as much as you can. Look at different perspectives, learn from different people, and that is going to help you to grow in future for sure.
Yes. So if you can type your YouTube channel name here in the chat box. So
It's just my name. It's very simple. I think it is. Yeah, you can just search this. It should be fine. I'm sorry. I've gone to. Yeah, you can follow my channel as well.
yes. So thank you so much, sir, to come on this platform, and we hope we will do continue the same. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone to join this.